everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Meredith E. Phillips and this is a very belated Q&A video to celebrate my 1,000 subscriber milestone that I hit all the way back on October 1st. It was a little bit of a minute ago, but we were in the middle of Preptober, NaNoWriMo, and I already had videos like ready to go for that, so I thought we'll do this at some point in the future, and that future point has come. A lot of you submitted questions, so thank you very much for that, and I'm gonna try to go through as many of them as I can. Before we get to the questions though, I do have a giveaway that I wanna do. I wish I could send gift cards and prizes to everybody, but I don't have that much money, so I have one $25 gift card to Best World Books. This is a used books website, and the reason I picked it is because they ship internationally free. US, anywhere in the world, they ship free, which is amazing. I didn't want to do a giveaway that couldn't include international folks because I know I have a lot of people in all kinds of different countries who watch my videos, so I wanted it to be open to everybody, but I didn't want to pick a place where, you know, someone in the UK was going to go online and find a $15 book and then have to pay $20 of shipping. You know, that didn't make much sense. So the giveaway is for a $25 USD gift card to Best World Books. I'll put all the information below on entering the giveaway in the description. There's a little short form on my website to fill out. It just is for your first and last name and email address. The contest will be open as soon as this video goes live, and it'll be available to enter all the way through next week on the 28th. I'll close entries on the 28th at 9 AM Central, and I will be drawing a winner on the 29th, Wednesday, and sending an email to that person. So please do make sure you've added author Meredith Phillips at gmail.com to your contacts list so that if you win and I send you an email, it doesn't end up in your spam box or something like that. So again, all the details for the giveaway are in the description, so please go check that out, and best of luck to all of you. Let's go ahead and get to these questions. There are a bunch of questions. I will try to get to as many of them as I can. I'll break this into three little sections. One is personal life kind of questions, one is about writing, and the third one is about video making, AuthorTube, YouTube, that kind of stuff. So let's start with the personal questions. First question is salty or sweet? Sweet. Sweet all day long. Marvel, DC, or favorite superhero? I don't like superhero movies. I'm not into those at all. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, fell very flat to me. I was not laughing. I was not entertained. I was very confused, actually. I didn't like that movie. It was B- at best. Do you have a big family? Not really. I have one sibling, one younger sibling, and that's it. My husband is an only child, so there's no siblings on that side of the family. I do have some aunts and uncles, but not tons and tons. Do we have any other pets? We have the 4 bunnies, and we have 2 dogs that we just adopted in October. Best band? My favorite band of all time is Foo Fighters. I love them. I love them so much. I've gotten to see them in concert 3 times now. I cannot wait to go see them again at some point. I don't know when they're gonna be in town next, but I'm willing to drive a fair distance to go see them. Second favorite band is definitely Muse. I love Muse. They're so good! And then pretty much anything like 90s rock, alt rock, grunge stuff. I love all that. Stone Temple Pilots are fantastic. Underrated band, in my opinion. Do you know your MBTI personality type? Sort of. I always get between ISFJA and ISTJA. Right? Yeah. Which is like the nurse one and the logician, logic person. So, there you go. I got 2 questions about the bunnies, just like why bunnies instead of something else, and also like what made us find bunnies or get them. When we first got Nibs, way back in 2011, we were living in apartments at the time, and we had jobs that took us away from our home for 8 to 12 hours a day, and so we thought if we get a dog, like there won't be anyone around to walk it, it'll be by itself a lot. It didn't seem like the best situation, and of course in an apartment you don't really have like a yard to let it out into to run around and play. Like, didn't seem like a good idea for a dog at the time. I'm allergic to cats, That would have been sort of the other more typical option. So obviously cats were out. And I don't know, I think I was doing a Google search literally like pets I should get or something stupid like that. And the idea of bunnies came up and I was like, oh, little bunnies would be so cute. And I started researching like what do they need and how do you take care of them and all that kind of stuff. And they seemed like they would be a good option for not only apartment living, but also for our lifestyle where we were kind of out of the house quite often. And we ended up adopting Nibs, and we ended up with 5 at one point. So we love the bunnies. They're adorable. They do require a lot of special care, so please do your research if you are planning or thinking about getting any kind of animal, but especially bunnies and other exotics. If you had $10,000 to spend on something that was 100% frivolous, what would it be? This was hard because I'm such a practical person, and when it comes to buying stuff, there isn't anything completely frivolous that I can think of where I would be like, yes, this thing. Like, what would I get? I don't like stuff that clutters around the house. I'm not a big like clothing kind of person or like makeup and jewelry kind of person. If travel counts as frivolous, I would definitely spend it on travel. 100% would spend it on travel. Otherwise, I don't know. I'm boring. Next question was, what is my favorite movie? Are you new around here? My favorite movie is Lawrence of Arabia. Came out in 1962, directed by David Lean. It stars Peter O'Toole and Omar Sharif and just like a whole bunch of other people. Jack Hawkins is in it, who is amazing. I have a lot of Lawrence of Arabia memorabilia around the house. I love it. It's my favorite movie. Next question is, how are you liking Texas? Have you been outside the Houston area much? I have a love-hate relationship with Texas. There are a lot of things I really like about it. Housing prices are cheap, and that's why we moved here. Other things are relatively inexpensive here. Gas prices have stayed pretty low for us. I do like the area where we live in general. Like, we have everything you could possibly need within like a 10-minute drive. Multiple grocery stores, shopping centers, malls, every restaurant you can possibly imagine. Like, we've got anything we need is super close by, which I really like. The biggest complaint I have is the stupid power grid. Like, and the internet situation is ridiculous. Like, I've never lived somewhere where I can't rely on power. What? So aside from that, it's pretty good here. And I mean, we bought a house here, so we're definitely here to stay for a little while. In terms of traveling outside the Houston area, we really haven't done a whole lot of traveling because we moved here in September 2019. And of course, a few months later, everything shut down. So 2020, we weren't going anywhere. And then this whole year has just been like a lot of things happening that, you know, we weren't going anywhere. So no, we haven't really traveled outside the Houston area at all. Favorite non-book related activity? I don't have a whole lot of time, but I do like playing video games, specifically Zelda. I love it. Love me some Zelda. I'm really excited for Breath of the Wild 2. They said it's supposed to come out in 2022, and I'm really hoping that holds true because your girl's taking off a week from work when that game comes out. I am not even joking. I'm taking a week off and I'm going to play it 16 hours a day until I can't hold my eyes open anymore. Can't wait. It's gonna be so good. Okay, let's jump into the writing and book related questions. The first question I got was, when did I start writing? I started writing about 6 years ago, 5.5-ish, when I was 30. I had just turned 30 and I started writing my first story then. Do you share any of your stories with your family? No, I do not. No, I do not. Favorite story I've written in the last 6 years? That's a hard one. The one I had the most fun writing is probably one of the worst. My 2019 Nano story was complete junk. It was this rambling, like there was no plot, but man, I had so much fun writing it. It was a blast. I finished NaNoWriMo that year in 19 days. That didn't happen this past year, but I loved writing it even though it's completely useless at this point. My favorite story I've written though, I don't know if I can answer that. There's different things that I've really enjoyed about all of the stories I've written, whether or not they ended up being something worth pursuing in the end. I feel like I haven't written my favorite story yet. Favorite author and favorite genre. My favorite genre at the moment is adult romance. Favorite author, I don't know if I can say favorite author because, you know, like Mary Balog, who's a romance author, is a lot different than V.E. Schwab, who writes like really dark, you know, fantasy, sci-fi, and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know. Mary Balog is definitely one of my top favorites. V.E. Schwab is. Leigh Bardugo. I love Christina Lauren's books. I think those are my top ones at the moment. What is your work in progress about? Well, I kind of have two. The first one that I've really been working on hard this past year is Project Model Rom-Com, which is the first book in a series that I'm trying to work on. So the series I'm trying to do so that each book features characters who work in an industry that is a little behind the scenes of bigger industries. So for the first book, the main male character is the cover model on romance novels, and his story and what it's like being a cover model like that. And then the second book that I wrote over NaNoWriMo this past year was about the editor for a YouTuber's major YouTube channel. I got a bunch of questions about like, what's your author dream life? Do you want to be a full-time author? Big aspirations and like that kind of stuff. If I could be a full-time author, that would be awesome. That's something that a lot of people have to work really hard at for years and years and years before they're ever able to think about doing that. So that's definitely not in the near future unless I'm some magical unicorn, which I'm not counting on. I think if I could somehow manage to get enough income from selling books plus income from doing videos, that would be maybe my ideal life. I really do love creating videos for my YouTube channel, and I also really love writing. So if I could have a career where those two things could be combined and I could actually like support myself on them, that would be fantastic. I really liked this next question. It's, should Shakespeare be replaced in schools with more relatable and contemporary plays? This is a huge issue and has been for a while. And I think there's room for both. I definitely think that more modern plays or books in general should be incorporated more into schools. However, I also think that people like Shakespeare, or, you know, I had to read a whole bunch of old Greek playwrights and that kind of thing, Oedipus Rex and the Odyssey and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of literary value in those works. And so I don't think they should be completely thrown out. I just think we need to incorporate more things into the curricula. Next question is, how do you keep yourself motivated to work on a project? This is a hard one, and I have two answers. One is a little more serious and one is kind of like, maybe this shouldn't be an answer, but it is. The big thing that I would encourage anyone to do if you're feeling like unmotivated to work on something is think about why you're writing it. I've talked about this in a video earlier this year. I'll link it below if you like. But you really need to know why you are writing this particular story at this particular time in your life. And I think, you know, reflecting on it and nailing down a specific reason can be super motivational then in getting you to want to work on it on a frequent basis. And I would encourage you, if you're trying to think of, well, okay, why am I writing this story? Go deep with yourself. Don't just say, you know, oh, I just want to write something that's fun and entertaining. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of stories you could write that are fun and entertaining. So why are you writing this particular story? What about this story is so entertaining and so amazing that you need to work on it and need to share it with readers? The second thing that is motivating, whether it should be or not, are the videos I produce. I like making sure that I can get a video up on Tuesdays and Fridays, unless I've announced previously that that's not going to happen for some reason. And in order to have writing content, I probably need to be writing myself, especially when it comes to like writing vlogs. If I haven't written anything, well, I don't have any vlog content to share. Honestly, sometimes the pressure of having a video that I need to make makes me sit down and do some work. Next question is, two of my favorite books that I've read this year. I've had kind of an off year for reading. I really haven't read a whole lot of 5-star books, and my criteria for a 5-star book is very high. It is tip-top amazing. It has to be written beautifully. It has to have characters that I love. The story and the plot have to be engaging and page-turning and all of it. It has to be incredible. So I don't give out 5-star ratings all that often, but I did give out 2 this year, which is pretty low, only 2. But there are 2 that I rated 5 stars. The first one is Someone to Cherish by Mary Balog. This is the 7th or 8th book in her Westcott series. I would not recommend reading it if you haven't read the other books in the series. It is a great series. Highly recommend the series if you're interested. But this is the kind of book, like, you could technically read it by itself, but part of the reason it had the impact that it did for me is because the main male character, you've seen him pop up in all the previous books, and as a reader, you know, you've gotten to a point where you just want to see him be happy. Please, something good happened to this character. And this is his book to find love and find his happiness and all that kind of stuff. So you have more emotion you bring to the book if you've read the entire series. Anyway, that was one. The other one I was really surprised at, and it was Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I was really impressed with this book, and I really hope that they will do more books like this in the future. And if you're unaware, Christina Lauren is a duo, 2 ladies writing under Christina Lauren. But this book was very different. They usually write like rom-coms, and they're very like, I don't know how to describe them. They're very fun, they're very fast-paced, they're really entertaining. I really do love them. And this was very much a departure from their typical writing style, the type of story they tend to tell. I really enjoyed it though. It was so well done, and I think it showed that they can write on another level than they tend to. And not that their normal writing is bad or anything, but this was an elevated kind of book. I loved it. It was very good. Highly recommend. Next question is, who's your fictional crush? It is always going to be Nikolai Lantsov. Nikolai freaking Lantsov. What a dude. What a dude. Show us your library was the next request. I will put in a really quick clip here, and I'll link to a video below that kind of gave you like a mini bookshelf tour. Next question is, who's your favorite poet? I don't read a whole lot of poetry, but I will say my favorite poet's probably Billy Collins. He was the poet laureate like 20 years ago or something like that. I don't even remember how I found him, but I found a book of his poetry when I was in high school, and I loved it. He does like stream of consciousness style poems, which I know isn't everyone's cup of tea, but his writing is so beautiful. The words just sort of roll over each other, and the cadence and rhythm that he produces is so beautiful. So if you've never read a Billy Collins poem, definitely look up some and check them out. Next question is, what got me into writing? I had been reading at the time a ton of YA fantasy. I hadn't read anything really in my adult life. I really had not been a huge reader, and I had gotten to a point one day where I was like, I really just want to read something fun. I want to read a book that just like sucks me in and I can't put it down, you know, that kind of thing. And I started with YA fantasy and was like, this is amazing. And I went on this huge binge of reading YA fantasy books from like the last 10 or 15 years that I had just completely missed out on because I wasn't paying any attention to it. And I loved it. So my head was full of YA fantasy themes and tropes and character types and all that kind of stuff. And I was driving to work one day, I saw some trees on the side of the road, which is not an unusual occurrence, but for some reason they triggered this idea, and I got to work and I was like scribbling notes down before I had to clock in, and I got home later that night and I was like, I'm gonna start writing it! And I started, and it was a mess, but it was really fun. That kind of leads into the second question. What's the first thing I wrote? It was a epic YA fantasy. Definitely was going to be a trilogy. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea about story structure. I had no idea about like how to create worlds and magic systems and like all the things. I love that book just because it represents the first thing I ever tried to write, but it is very cringeworthy. Next question is, did you ever have a moment where you thought you'd have to give up on writing? Yeah, like all the time. Sometimes when I start to think of the big picture and the chances of success that there are within this industry. They are very low chances. It's kind of like, am I just wasting my time? But you know what? I'm not wasting my time. If my writing never goes anywhere, I still had a lot of fun working on it. I think I have become a better writer over the course of the last 6 years. I've started making videos about my writing. I love making the video. Like, I get a lot of joy out of this. So even if my writing doesn't go anywhere professionally, even if it never makes me money, like, I don't really care. It's okay. It would be nice if it did, but it's okay in the end if that's not what happens. What is my favorite book and why do I like it? My favorite book is still Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and this book has meant so many different things to me over the years. I've reread it multiple times. I first read it when I was in 8th grade, and as, you know, an early teen and into high school and stuff, there's a lot in the book about Jane being not necessarily an outsider, but she's not like the other girls. And, you know, as a teenager where, you know, you feel like, oh, no one understands me, I'm all alone, oh. You do all that kind of stuff. I identified a lot with her in that regard. But as I grew older and I got married, then there were issues where, you know, Jane and Mr. Rochester are having their romance, and so there was things about that I could pull out and be like, oh my gosh, I so identify with you, Jane. Not that my husband had like a crazy wife in the attic. That didn't happen, thankfully. You know, just different things about like relationships in general. So as I've gotten older, I've been able to pull out more things from the book, and it's a multi-layered book. And I love it. What motivates you as a writer is the next question. That's a good one. And I think it's definitely changed over the years. Currently, I'm writing romance books. The reason that they are incredibly motivating for me to write is because I read a ton of romance books starting in like late 2016, I think. But I was like, I'm going to read a straight up romance novel. And I thought it was going to be like really cheesy and terrible, but I didn't care. I just wanted the cheese. And I read it, and it was so much more than that. It was so much better than I was expecting. And when I tell you I binged, my guy, I binged like 100 books in like a couple months. I was reading like multiple books a week, just flying through these books. They were so good. One thing that helped me in those books was the constant theme of love conquers all, right? If you're reading a romance, that is the theme, the overarching theme. There can be other themes and motifs and things in them, but that's the big one, right? Hearing that message over and over and over again, I was going through some really difficult stuff at the time. Hearing that message over and over and over again made me believe it. And it helped me through the difficult things I was going through. And so now that I've come through and I'm on the other side, I want to be able to contribute that message of hope to anyone who might need it. And so that's one of the reasons that I really enjoy writing romance novels. Okay, I got 2 questions that were very similar. One was, what genre have you always wanted to write but are too scared to try? And what genre do you want to write but know you would hate every minute of it? I don't know if there's a genre that I really want to try that I'd be too scared to. I know I would be terrified to try to write anything in like a historical fiction type world, because I feel like if you don't get the historical part of it really spot on, that's gonna cause issues. But I don't know if I really care about writing historical fiction. And then sort of same thing for the other question, what genre do you want to write but you know you would hate every minute of? Probably fantasy, honestly, even though that's what I started with. I found in the course of writing a bunch of fantasy things, I really hate world building, really hate it. I hate creating magic systems, and not every fantasy novel has both of those things, but a lot of them do. Fantasy novels, of course, rely on a lot of world building. That's what draws a lot of people to the genre to begin with. I hate it. I don't want to figure out the economy of this kingdom from ancient times. Like, I don't care. So I don't want to spend my time working on that. So yeah, definitely. If I could write it, it would be really fun because I do enjoy those books a lot. But man, I do not want to do all the world building and magic system creation. The last book related, writing related question is, what is the worst book I've ever read? Okay. I thought of one. I don't know if it's like the worst book I've ever read, but man, I was so pissed off when I read it. I don't remember what it was called. but it was a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Specifically, it was like, I don't know how they did it because the author was like directly copying stuff from the Disney animated Beauty and the Beast film, like direct dialogue and like describing scenes that were obviously like directly pulled from the movie. I don't know how that legally works or like if Disney commissioned the book, but the story was different. Anyway, oh gosh, I hated this book so much. So much. Because what is the big scene in Beauty and the Beast? The big scene, we're all waiting for it. It's the transformation scene at the end, right? Finally the curse is broken. He becomes a human again. Oh, we have a kiss and then it's happy ending, right? He was still a beast at the end of the book. And then it was like, well, I hope you become a human sometime. Bye. And it just ended. It was not a part 1. It wasn't like, oh, sequel coming next year. No, that was it. That was it. That was literally, I was so mad. I was so mad. It makes no sense. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Oh, I'm so mad just thinking about it. Let's go on to some other questions. Okay, let's move into the video and AuthorTube related questions. The first question is, do you have a newsletter? Why, yes, I do. You can find a link to sign up for the newsletter on my website, meredithphillips.com. The link is in the description. Will be very honest, I'm not great at keeping up with the newsletter. So you can sign up for it. There's not a lot I send out for it, so you definitely won't get inundated with emails. I'll tell you that. You will maybe get like 1 or 2 a year. I'm really sorry. I had bigger plans for it and that got put on a back burner. Next question is, when you vlog, how do you figure out your angles? I liked this question a lot. I love filming. I love trying to figure out different ways to film stuff because when you're writing at the same place in every video, it can get really tedious to try to be like, how else can I film myself writing and make it interesting? So I do try to figure out, I basically just look around and be like, where else can I possibly put my camera in this room that will still film me doing things? So, you know, whether it's on my tabletop, I've tried to put it up here on these shelves, but these shelves are too thin, which annoys me. I've tried putting it behind me at different angles. One thing that I do try really hard to be aware of is the frame. You can see everything within this frame right here. And I don't like it when there's stuff poking in from the side, or if you can see my trash can sitting back here. Like before I started filming this video, I had some boxes piled up here in this corner and I moved them because I didn't want that back there in my shot. The other thing I'll do is like right now, if I had done my regular video setup, hold on, now I'm messing up my whole thing. There's sometimes where like this thing back here is visible, that black thing up on the wall, and I hate that. So I will rearrange the shot so that stuff like that is not in the background of my shots. So I'll do stuff like that to make it aesthetically pleasing. Now I've ruined whatever I had up. I think it was like that. Good enough. How long does it take you to film a video that you sit down and talk? This one is taking a freaking long time because I've got a lot of questions here. But usually I have notes. I have a bullet point list of some sort of what I want to say. So I'm not sitting here like hemming and hawing about what it is I want to say. I've already got it written down. I would say because I put the camera in one spot and I sit in one spot and I talk, it's usually like 20 or 30 minutes. Not too much longer. This one I've been going for 36 minutes. I will cut it down. I'll cut it down. Don't worry. That is one thing though that I'm going to try in 2022 to be better at. If you move the camera around, if you do different angles, different positions, different types of shots, I think it's more interesting and more engaging for the audience in general. And that's something I'd like to try to get better at. Of course, if I do that, it's going to take longer to film a video, but it's fine. We'll see how I can do. Would you meet other AuthorTubers in person? Sure. Come on down to Houston. Or I'll go somewhere maybe. Yeah, I mean, I would totally be up for that. I would be extremely nervous, but I would do it. Next question is, do you like collaborating with other AuthorTubers / if so, what kind of collabs / how might someone reach out to you for a collab? Yeah, I love collabing with other people. I haven't done a ton of it this year, which I'm a little sad about. I did do some live streams over on some different channels. I had some live streams here in my channel that people participated in, which was a lot of fun. I'm kind of up for anything. I mean, pitch me an idea. It can be hard to come up with ideas that work as a collab on writing channels. I don't know. I've tried to think of some over the course of this past year, and I haven't really come up with a whole lot of things that I was super interested in filming or reaching out to anyone for. If you have some sort of idea and you want to see if I want to be a part of it, you can always email me, authormeredithphillips@gmail.com. The link is in the description. You can also, of course, message me, like direct message me on Instagram or something like that. And finally, the final question is, what would I change about my YouTube journey so far, if anything? I honestly don't think I would change very much. I've worked hard to make these videos and I'm proud of what I've put up on my channel. It's a small niche. The writing niche is very small and it takes a while to grow, but it can be done. I don't know. I've been happy with where I've gone and all of that. So I don't think I would change anything at all about the way I've conducted myself or the types of videos I've done or anything like that. That was a lot of questions, but I hope that was interesting and that you got your question answered. If you have any other questions that I didn't cover, you can always leave a question in the comments. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button. I post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays, except for this month where my schedule's a little different because it's Christmas. But you know, like usually it's Tuesdays and Fridays. You can find me over on Instagram at Meredith Phillips Writes, and you can head over to my website, remember, for the giveaway, link in the description. But the website is meredithphillips.com. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again for subscribing to my channel, for sticking around, for being supportive. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.